Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the Chapter 6 introduction. In this particular introduction, I am going to take you through the query process, both the spatial and the attribute query. Now, a query allows us to select specific things based on either attributes or location, or how the locations are related to one another. I want to work here in, I'm going to narrow it down just to California and work with counties in California. So I'm going to zoom in here. And if I want a brand new separate file, if I've got all the counties in the United States, what if I only want California? What if I work in Sacramento for the state government of California, and someone comes to me and says, I need you to make a map of counties of California. I don't want to see the rest of everything. I want to know some things about the population in 1990 and 1999. Then it's really awkward to have all of this other stuff out here to look at if I only want this stuff. So I want to be able to select that data that is only the counties in California, and I want all of the attribute data to come along with it. So here's this is the DBF that I spoke about in the earlier part, in part 1. The DBF is the table. So we have all of these different attributes. We know the name of the county. We know the state name. This is for the whole USA, and I got all of this. So I don't want to have to do. There's a couple of ways you could do this manually, sort of. I could go through here, and I can go up here, and I can select. This is important to note too, because sometimes this is actually easier. I can select the state name, and then I can sort this. A couple of days later, I'm not really sure why this is running so slowly tonight. But, so I can sort this, and scroll down. Oops, I think it's South California. And oops, here we go. Right here. Siskiyou, and then I can, this Siskiyou County, and then I can run on here. And look for the last one in there. Shift. Oops, and so I get all of those. And then, okay, so now I've got all of those. So I look at my map, and they're all lit up. Okay, yay. So I found the counties. The other thing I could do, I'm going to clear that selection. I'm going to set my table aside over here on the other monitor. And I could click here, select features, and hit the shift key and click, 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 click. And I can yawn, you know, it's like, oh, wow, this is exciting. Wow. Okay, so I've bored you as well. So I'm going to unselect all of those. That's the clear selection button. And talk about how we can pull all this information out without having to go click, 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 or play games with the table. There's something called, up here, it says selection. Instead of saying attribute query, it says select by attributes. I'm really not sure why. Because everybody that takes a GIS course or grabs a tutorial book or works through a tutorial book or whatever calls it a query. And then Esri, the industry standard, calls it select by attributes. But we're going to go with select by attributes. That means we are querying based on each one of those columns in the table. So if I want to, I'm going to close this and bring up my table again just so you can see what's going on. If I want all of the counties in California, instead of doing all the sort by all this and click, 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 I can look at this, look at the columns that tells me what state I'm in. It's called state name. So I can do that and go up here to select by attributes. And so I see state name. Okay. I need to, this is a warning to you. When we're just doing this first time, it's just, I've only got this one layer here. That's what's going to come up. If you have 16 different layers here, you better make sure that you grab the right layer, because you're going to be confused. Like, I don't see state name in there. You go, oh, it should be selecting county. So you need to go through the process. Make sure you have county selected. If you select it over here by clicking on it and turning it blue, it'll show up as the first one here. So we click on state name, and we're going to double click it, and it shows up down here. What we're doing is we are building a little query language statement down here. So state name, we click on equals, and see, there's that, and get unique values. Sometimes this will tell you there's a lot of unique values. You sure you want to do this? And you just say yes, and if there's a lot there, you just wait. So we hit California here, and sometimes you've got some weird things. So if you don't feel like, if you've got a whole lot of things, like if you've got 700 different names here, you can actually start typing in under go to right here. I can type C-A-L-I. Oops, there we go, California. Double click California. So now I have state name equals California. Notice that it puts quotation marks around the attribute name, the column name, and a single quotation mark around the value that's in that column. So state name equals California. I say OK, and voila, there they are. It's selected. So you go, okay, big deal, it's selected. I still have all of these other states that I have to deal with. It's showing up on my map, and the boss wants to see California only. What's wrong with you? Okay, we can fix that. What we're going to do is create a new file for what's been selected. So now that all these counties have been selected, I can come over here, right-click county, and then I go to data. Export data. There's a couple of different things you can do. You can create a layer from it, but if you go to export data, this makes it permanent. It's a file that it creates all that SHX and DBF and everything for you, and you are able to move it about easily between different projects. So I could save it as a layer file. You've worked with layer files. Here's what it looks like when we save it as a layer file. It's wanting to put it in a strange place that I haven't asked it to go, but I'm going to put it in my trash file, my test practice file, which is in here, in here, in here. So I can make a counties layer. But the layer doesn't travel very well. I think I accidentally hit cancel. But the layer doesn't travel very well. A shapefile, well, and what I mean by travel very well, it means if you have if you're working with somebody else on a project and you need to get that data to them, but the layer doesn't go by itself off. You can't just copy the layer and send it through email or whatever. You'll have to, it's best to create either a shapefile or a geodatabase. So let's, we're going to just make this, make it a new shapefile. Export data. And it's going to ask you a few things. We're going to export the selected features. We want to do that because that's what we just selected. That's our goal, is to have the counties of California. This is going to ask you if you want to use the same coordinate system as the original data, the layer source data. It also asks if you want to use a data frame. If I want to use the data frame, that's going to put it, remember I changed that when I right-clicked on layers and I changed it for the data frame. The data frame means all the data that's in that frame. It's different than when you have it for each layer. So think of it this way. The coordinate system, you can have different coordinate systems for the layers than you have for the entire, for each data layer than you have for the entire map. And that should say data frame or map right there, but it doesn't. And I know that gets confusing when you're first starting out with this, with all this, oh my gosh, what's this and what's that? And this is called layers, and that's a layer. What are we talking about? But your coordinate system, we are going to export it based on this original data. And this original data can have a different coordinate system than the whole map does, which this yellow thing right here represents the whole map. Okay, so I'm going to put, it wants to put it in this geodatabase. I can let it go there. Notice it wants to make an export output. So if I do this, it's going to make it as part of a geodatabase. You all have something, as soon as you loaded ArcMap, you have something called default geodatabase. Whenever you export anything or whenever you convert anything, it's going to want to put it in this default geodatabase. If you want it separate or in another geodatabase, you've got to do this, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in that practice folder. It's in here. There's my test practice. And I'm going to give it a name that makes sense. We'll call it Cali Counties. CALI_counties. Whoops. Oh, it doesn't like that. Oh, that's because I didn't tell it to make it a shapefile. So hopefully, make sure you're taking notes on this, and you haven't been taking notes yet. Rewind this, go back and watch some of the other things, and just take notes on it. This is what I do in a classroom. I get up and I show people, I walk people through this process to show everybody what it does. You'll be doing some of this in your exercise, in the lab exercise. So if you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to say, okay, it's going to create this new file. I'm going to show you some other things that you can do. Sure. I'm going to do some other things that you can do. Oh, excuse me. That with the query function, with the attribute query function, and some combinations that can occur. These things, again, I want you to copy these things down and have this, remember this video, because when you start working on your project, your actual, you've got projects 1, 2, and 3. When you start working on your projects, you'll want to remember, oh, what did she do when she wanted this to happen, when she wanted to select only these counties or whatever. And so you can go back to your notes without necessarily having to watch the video. Okay, so what if I want to know, let's go back to these counties here. We're going to turn off California. I'm going to unselect everything. What if I want to know all the counties in Utah with a population of less than 100,000? So I'm going to go to my counties, and I need to delete this down here. So I make sure I'm in counties, not in Cali counties, but in counties. And let's start out. Let's just do one for the population. Let's say I want to know all the counties in the United States that have a population of less than 100,000. So that's not something we can do equals on. It's a less than. So population. Let's do population 1999, so we can party like it's 1999. And so I double click on pop 1999. Less than. I use that less than there. If I wanted less than or equal to, if I wanted 100,000 people or less, I would click on less than or equal to. But I'm going to click on less than. And then I can just type in my number here. Don't put in a comma. Put this in your notes. When doing a numerical attribute query, select by attribute, whatever you call it, don't put in commas. So it's 100,000. It's 10,000. I have to get up close and my glasses don't work so well. I say okay. And so now we'll zoom out. I go to zoom to layer. I know y'all are new at this, so some of the things I'm going to be repeating that you've already gone through. Zoom to layer. Look at all the counties in the U.S. with less than 100,000 people in. So there we go. But what if I want to combine the counties of? What if I just want the counties in Utah that are less than 100,000? Well, I can zoom in again. Zoom in here, and whoa, that's really confusing because all the other counties from all the other states are near there. So over here, Utah is right over here. So let's go back to our select by attribute, and let me grab my hand here, grab the pan hand. I'm going to center that on Utah. And we want to get the counties with less than 100,000 in Utah. So we're going to combine a couple of things. We're going to select attributes. I'm going to clear this to make it less confusing. And I want state name, double click state name, equals, get unique values. I did the get unique values, so that way I don't have to type it in here and make a typo and then try to figure out what I did wrong. Some of these query statements can get kind of complicated, so the more automated you can do things, the better off you are. Okay. And well, here's where we get into the operators. You've got these operators here, equals, greater than, equal to. This means right there, that funny looking thing with the less than and the greater than sign, that means not equal to, because there's no way you can have a number that's both greater than or less than at the same time. Unless you live in some kind of crazy Star Trek universe where weird things happen. But we're going to combine things. In this case, we want the counties less than 100,000 and the counties, why did I say California? I wanted Utah. And the counties, yeah, y'all are sitting there right now going, why did she put California in there? She said Utah, right? I do that. Sometimes talking and clicking and stuff, I get a little confused. Let's go find Utah. Oh, you know what? Let's use our little tool here. U-T-A-H. And so it brings up Utah. I don't have to go scrolling through there. State name equals Utah. So think about which one of these terms I'm going to use to go with state name. If I want counties less, in addition to the state name equals Utah, I want the counties with less than 100,000. So I'll let you think about it, like and or not. Okay, if you guessed and, or if you thought and, you are correct. So and, we look for population 1999, and we'll use the less than 100,000. 100,000. And I say OK. And there it is. It limits it to those counties in Utah. So there's just, looks like 2 counties, maybe 3, or it's hard to say. Oh, that one's definitely not. So 2 counties less than, or with greater than 100,000. So the rest of the counties in the state are less than 100,000. Okay, so that's how you do kind of a combination of a numerical data set and a nominal data set. All right, one more thing while we're in attribute queries, and then we'll move on to spatial queries. I'm going to clear this. What if I want all of the counties? What if I want all the counties in Utah and New Mexico? I want a map. For some reason, I want Utah and New Mexico. Don't need Colorado. Don't need Wyoming. Don't need Idaho, Nevada, or any of these other things. I'm going to do another attribute query. I go to selection, select by attribute. I keep saying that over and over, that it's an attribute query, so that you get used to associating attribute query with select by attribute. So make sure I've got the right layer here. So I'm going to clear that. You can also just click that button that says clear. I highlight and hit delete. State name equals, I'm going to get my unique values, and I know I want Utah, so I click, go here, Utah, right there. So which one of these do I want to use to get New Mexico in there with me? Which one do I want to get New Mexico? I want both, a map with both Utah, New Mexico in it. So I'll give you a few minutes to think. Is it like? Is it and? Is it or? Is it not? Which one? Which one? Which one? It is, and this may be confusing, it is or. What? What? You said you wanted both. You want Utah and New Mexico, not or. Okay, the reason we do this, right click here, go to my attribute table, bring that back into view. The reason we do that is because the way ArcMap, the way this query language works, it says go to this is when you type this in. If I put and in there instead of or, it's going to go here, the little brain that's inside the computer and with the ArcMap telling it what to do. It's going to go to this thing called state name. This literally means go, it's telling it go to state name and look for everything that says Utah in there. If I say and here, Utah and New Mexico, it's going to look for Utah, New Mexico. And there are no states that call Utah, New Mexico. It would look for both Utah and New Mexico in the same cell. So you have to tell it or, because it goes through, it says it's going to go through and see Alabama, blah, 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 all this, and get to Utah, and it's going to go, oh, cool, I found all the Utahs. What else do I need to find? It said, oh, okay, or yeah, I can get either one of those. I need to get both of those. So I need to get, if it says New Mexico or Utah, it's going to grab those counties. That's basically what it comes down to. So I'm going to type NEW, New Mexico's right there, and I say okay. Oh, and look at what I did. Good. I'm glad that happened. So you can see this is one of the most common, I just made one of the most common mistakes that anybody can ever make doing this. And I've had so many students make that mistake. It doesn't show up. I get an SQL error. This comes up invalid. What did you do wrong? If you can look at this and see what I did wrong, think about it. Think and see what you think I did wrong here. I'll let you look at that a little bit before I give you the answer. If you thought that I didn't put state name in there again, what it needs to say is state name equals Utah or state name equals New Mexico. So put that in there and I go double click here and I say equals New Mexico. This is what it wants to see. And I'm really kind of glad I made that mistake because like I said, that's the most common mistake anybody makes when you're doing multiple requests for data here. So now I can say okay. And it's much happier with me. I gave it a good, statement that it understands. I'm going to close that. And there you go. New Mexico and Utah are selected. So I'm going to wrap up the section on attribute query. This has been about a 23-minute recording so far, and it's easier to watch videos one section at a time. What I want you to remember about attribute selection is remember that you need to use specific query language. It's or if you're working out of the same column, if you're retrieving data out of the same column, it's or. If you're retrieving data out of two different columns, if I wanted a state name equals one thing and the number of females equal another or greater than, then I can use and. So across two columns, that would be an and. If you're retrieving data out of only one column, that's an or. So take that away with you, and then in the next video we will discuss selections by location, or location query, or spatial query. All three are the same thing.